So to start off this unit, we are going to be looking at ratios and proportions. Now, I know that you guys don't have these note sheets necessarily in front of you. We are not going to do too many examples, so hopefully you guys can track all of this. But I would highly recommend, as you guys are looking at this, to at least jot down a little bit, so when you guys do get your note packet, you can go back and fill some of these things in. All right, so when you take a look at this, first off, what a ratio is it's going to be a comparison of two or more quantities. Okay, and when you guys look at a ratio can be represented multiple ways. You can do a colon, so like A to B. You can use the phrase A to B, so you can use the word to in there, or you could use a fraction, which is the one that we're going to use most often. Sorry about that, we had a little lag. We have A over B. That's the one that we're going to be using most frequently. Ratios can be reduced, and in fact, we encourage you guys to reduce them. So as you look, trumpets to violins, using the example on the left. So we've got trumpets, 40, to violins, and our violins are 24. Order matters, so make sure you put them in the correct order. If you put it as a fraction, you've got 40 over 24. Again, order matters. So then when you simplify this, you want to leave this as an improper fraction. So if you do 40 and 24, 8 goes into both of those things, so that would simplify to be 5 over 3, or 5 to 3 if you did it that way. If we are looking at trombones to trumpets, hold on one second. Okay, sorry, I was having technical difficulties earlier today. I wanted to make sure that this was still recording. So when you were looking at trombones to trumpets, you've got trombones is 16, trumpets is 40 again. And so again, you could write it as a fraction, 16 to 40, and we can go ahead and reduce that. Both of those have an 8 that go into that as well, so it becomes 2 over 5. Now notice for number 4, it does say total instruments, so in that case, you would need to add those, all right? But what we're going to do is we're going to spend more time talking a little bit about the extended ratios. So that is just a comparison of more than 2. Okay, so extended ratios are written just with the colons. So for example, you would have A to B to C. You would not have like a 3-tiered fraction there. So if we look at our odds, here's the key for this. We need to know our vocabulary. So complementary means that those two angles are going to add up to be 90. Now, we know when we look at this, this is our ratio. What we don't know is what those numbers have been multiplied to get to that sum of 90. So what we're going to do is use a variable, and we're going to multiply each of those pieces of the ratio by that variable, and because it's complementary, we're going to set that equal to 90. And then we solve, and so we have 10x equals 90. When we divide, we get an x equals 9. So that is what each of those pieces have been multiplied by, is 9. So now when I look at this, I can do 3 times 9, which gets me 27 degrees, and 7 times 9, which gets me 63 degrees, and I can go ahead, and that is my final answer. Now, if you look at number 6, we're not going to do this, but notice the word changes. It is supplementary, which means that your sum is going to be 180 degrees. So we would do 4x plus 1x equals 180. We solve, and then you plug it back in. All right. Scrolling down, the ratio of the measures of the angles in a triangle. So angles in a triangle, we know, add up to 180. Again, we're going to use these as our coefficients. So 4x plus 7x plus 9x equals 180. So all of those on the left-hand side will simplify to give us 20x equals 180. When we divide, we get x equals 9. And now we can plug it back in. So 4 times 9, 7 times 9, and then last but not least, 9 times 9. So our 3 angles are 36 degrees, 63 degrees, and 81 degrees. And again, one of the ways that we can check this is to add those to make sure that they do indeed equal 180, which they do. So we are good to go. All right, so again, if you look at number 8, it's very similar. The only thing is different is that we're trying to find the largest angle rather than all of the angles. So looking at the next one, there we go. The ratio of the measures of the sides 2 to 8 to 9 Now we're talking about the perimeter. So again, we're going to go ahead and add all of those pieces. Again, that 2, 8, and the 9 are the prefix, or not the prefixes, sorry, the coefficients. So 2x plus 8x plus 9x. That's the perimeter, so that equals 76. And we can go ahead and combine our like terms. So we get 19x equals 76. Divide both sides by 19. We get a value of 4. And then notice it says find the length of each side. So for this, we would just need to substitute. So 2 times 4, 8 times 4, and 9 times 4. So our three sides, we have 8, and our units would be inches, 8 inches, 32 inches, and 36 inches. So the only thing different about this one is with the perimeter, you have to read carefully on what that perimeter equals as opposed to the 180. Sorry about me hitting the mic there. I tried something different so you guys can hopefully hear me a little better. All right, the proportion. The proportion is an equation or a statement, but we'll have here an equation that states two ratios are equal. Okay, so it is written as like A over B equals C over D, and then this is the key. Okay, you guys, oops, sorry about that. You guys usually see cross multiply. Okay, so for example, you know that A times D equals B times C, and so we're going to do some examples with this. So I'm sure you've seen this before in an algebra class, but just as a review, we would do 4 times 7, which is 28, 2 times x, so 2x. So therefore, when we divide, our x equals 14. Pretty straightforward. The ones you have to be careful of is when you have an expression, so more than just x in a part of your fraction. So when I multiply this way, it's 19 times the quantity x minus 1. So we have to make sure we distribute next, okay? The other way, 6 times 13 is going to give us 78. So when we distribute, that 19 goes to both the x and the 1. So we have 19x minus 19 equals 78. We're going to take 78 and add 19 to get 97. And then when we divide by 19, we get an x. Something went wrong. Hold on a second. Okay, so the thing that we have to be careful about is when we have more than just a variable in part of our denominator. So for example, here, when we cross multiply, we are going to put that x minus 1 in parentheses, and then we're going to do our 6 times 13 on this side, and 6 times 13 is going to give us 78. Now, the reason it matters that it's in parentheses is because that 19 is going to both pieces. You're going to distribute, okay? And so when you look at this, you get 19x minus 19 equals 78. When we add that over, we get 19x equals 97. When we divide, you do get a decimal. That's okay, okay? Don't second guess yourself. You do get a decimal, and you get a decimal of 5.1. So let's take a look at number 15. I'm going to let you try this one out for yourself before we go ahead and go over it. All right, so let's take a look at this. So you get 20 times 2x minus 9 equals, going the other direction, you've got 90. And so again, on the left-hand side, we need to distribute. So we get 40x minus 9 times 20 gets us a value of 180. So we're going to add 180 and 90 together to get 270. So you have 40x equals 270. And when you divide by 40, you get a value of 6.75. So again, you see that decimal. Please don't freak out about it. It is okay. The last one here, number 17, it's the exact same concept, except for you're going to distribute on both sides. And so when we look this way, we get 18 times x minus 20. I'm going to go ahead and distribute on the right-hand side. So 20 times 18 gets us 360. On the left-hand side, we get 3x minus 33. So when we subtract, we get 15x on the right. Negative 33 plus 360 is going to give us 327. And when we divide by 15, you get an x value of 21.8. So guys, the big thing moving forward is making sure that we know how to solve these proportions, we know how to cross multiply. And then the other little thing for today to make sure that we're aware of is how to use those extended ratios to find both angles and sides. Okay? As always, guys, ask questions if you need it. I'm happy to help. Just let me know. Thanks.